It's clear to me that Todd Howard and the folks at Machine Games are fans of the Indiana Jones series. Much like the heroes of action-adventure pulp novels of the early 20th century, Indiana Jones is a globe-trotting polyglot professor and archaeologist who will do anything to protect history and culture.
Indiana Jones? Sidney! He's not a real archaeologist!
I do not want to dive too deep into the story and narrative in this review, but I will say that each Indiana Jones movie is mostly an adventure in exotic locations rooted in realism and religion with a hint of fantasy and romance. This game is no different and feels right at home among any of the movies in the series. Timeline-wise, I believe this game takes place before The Last Crusade, so you will be fighting Nazis on this adventure. On the other hand, I do want to focus on the gameplay. For context, Machine Games, most well known for games like Quake and Wolfenstein series, are excellent at first-person shooters, also known as FPS games. While it is unusual for an action-adventure game of this nature to be in first person, I am not surprised Machine Games opted for a first-person perspective for a game they are developing. What is surprising, however, is that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle incentivizes the player against using firearms of any kind. Not only do they alert everyone with their noise, which is to be expected, firing rates can be slow, and some enemies can be bullet sponges. There isn't even a reload when you run out of bullets. So whenever I hold a gun, I actually use the gun as a melee weapon as I stealth through the map. So instead of shooting Nazis as I would in Wolfenstein, I am now punching them or hitting them with objects. While this is not a problem and enjoyable, the feeling of accurately punching someone can feel hit or miss, pun intended. As you stealth around, you will likely be crouched most of the time. Strangely, a UI element doesn't appear when you are crouched, rather a blue aura encompasses your view. It's as if Indiana Jones is squinting whenever he crouches. Also, if you walk for an extended period of time while crouched, you will see Indy's hands do a sort of rhythmic dance, which I found somewhat distracting. I would understand if you were crouching and looking down while walking, but not while walking and looking forward. While I do understand why Machine Games would want to stick with what they know, I felt like a third-person perspective like the Hitman series or Uncharted series may have been better suited for this game. But what do I know? Without the first-person perspective, we wouldn't get to see things like this. Speaking of which, this game is comprised of some fairly large open spaces to explore. The locations are beautiful to behold, and the side quests are found somewhat organically. As you walk around the maps, you might hear a particular struggle or missing item that you can help out with. These are not forced on you, but rather make the maps more lively and allow you to earn more experience points for being a good Samaritan. There are a number of maps and clues that you, as Indy, must keep track of. And luckily, there's a journal for that. I personally appreciated the ability to look at the journal at any time, and walk around while also having to look down at my journal. This felt very reminiscent of The Last Crusade. One thing to note regarding gameplay. The AI can be as dumb as rocks. I was playing on standard difficulty, but AI companions and the enemies can do some really dumb things. Granted, I found these funny most of the time, but that's just me. You may want to try a harder difficulty, but I had a review to get through, so I didn't mind when the AI couldn't see their friends being knocked out right in front of their faces. Also, I played this game on PlayStation 5, in which added haptic feedback was a new feature. I thought it was done really well, and really added to some key scenes to the story. The audio and visuals really sell this game as a love letter to the Indiana Jones franchise. The game is just beautiful. The locations, the lighting especially. I loved exploring all of the locales. I've spent a considerable amount of time just looking at the scenery and marveling at all the details. The characters were also very well done. A special shout out to the team for their rendition of Indiana really capturing the look of a young Harrison Ford. That classic smirk or shocked expression, it really brought me back to watching the movies. Now, I can't go on to talking about the audio without first talking about the voice acting. While all the cast does a great job, I have to shout out Troy Baker's imitation of Harrison Ford. It is superb and captures the charm Harrison Ford brought to the character.
You're forgiven.
Father, wait, I didn't confess yet.
Hurry, let's get this over with.
Father, forgive me because I've sinned. I had an affair with my mother-in-law and...
It's all right. Just say 3 Hail Marys.
No, Father, you don't understand. My wife is expecting a child and I fear that...
What?
Yeah, let me finish, please. I fear that my mother-in-law is with the child also.
Jesus Christ, what have you done?
Wait. You are not a priest.
Squid. Sorry, pal, but you kind of deserved it.
The sound effects team also did an amazing job, from the crack of the whip to the unusually loud thud of each punch. They even managed to fit in a Wilhelm scream. Lastly, the classic John Williams score appears in all the right places and in a multitude of variations. If you're a fan of the Indiana Jones franchise, especially the original trilogy like me, you will likely think that this is a great game. Some minor gripes aside with the first-person action and the AI, I think the story is worth experiencing and there are many funny moments to see and create.
Son